Nice. Nice. All right. Good night. Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you great.
Okay, great. Good night. Good night, everybody. Oh, look, here's that light born right now. Light born must wait. Light born must wait till we actually go get in, and then he just pop on in. I must be doing that now. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. The 60 to 90 minutes of fathers talking about fathers, for fathers, about fathers. We'd like to please, if you have not done so, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you can know when we are having this conversation, a serious conversation for fathers, about fathers, and all types of father topics that you can find. Tonight we have a very interesting topic. Um, it's one that came from and came through our good brother Rohan. Rohan really sends me topics all the time that we can eventually, kind of have a conversation with and go into play. So we're going to go ahead and kind of open that conversation up, and then I'm gonna, let the fathers introduce themselves, who they are, who are here tonight. We asked the people, and we kind of might have lost them. I have a couple people now. If listen, I tell you, if I lost you, come on back. Don't shy. Just come on back, and you can join the conversation. But tonight's topic, one that is 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 probably not one that normally we would be talking about and really having a conversation about, because in many instances it's not something we will be thinking about that could happen, or that we want to happen, or we want to even see. But tonight's topic is is about missing children, a father's fear and response, and that could actually, in some instances, could work in multiple ways when we think about, fathers, children being missing. Um, and sometimes, you know how we go at the Fatherhood Think Tank. It could switch into a whole nother conversation when we talk about children being missing. It don't have to be exactly children being missing. So I want to go ahead and introduce. I'm Dr. Ron. If you don't know by now, the Fatherhood Think Tank curator, and I want to get the fathers to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into some of this conversation tonight. Good night. Welcome, fathers.
Welcome. Thank you. All right, I'll get started. Thank you for keeping this program around. Again, it's a pleasure being here to educate and empower fathers. My name is Rohan Rodok. I'm a father of two young adults. Going through the journey with both of them, two young ladies, and it's a it's a pleasure, sometimes not a pleasure, to walk them along this journey. But that's my role as a dad. Yep, that's it for me.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Ed Tenney. I'm a dad of three adult children. Um, Two of them, well, one of them has two girls, so I have two grandbabies, and then I have one on the way that's due in June. Excited about that, and I'm just happy to be a part of this illustrious crew.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, and one granddaughter and one grandson. And it's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, all right, great. Now we have some other people. They can always come back. We can catch them on the end. But Rohan, I know you really you pushed the. Oh, here, let me just get a person in it. Got a local brother. Get him, try to get him in. Johan, I know you kind of pushed this topic forward, and I think the reason you pushed it forward because I think it's one of those vital topics that you come and present. You want to just open us up with your thoughts about um, tonight's topic?
Okay, all right, all right. Missing children. That's the topic for tonight. Father's fear and more. Pretty much, we talk about children in this program, about raising children, the journeys of our children, the ups and lows. But sometimes we don't go deep and talk about missing children. Missing children meaning children are missing from the home, runaway children, children that are in a different family setting, children that are in some form of anxiety, some form of depression, and children who are who end up in a situation, and their parents end up in a situation where if you look back, how did they get there? We had one recent case with a not missing child, but a child in Georgia where the father bought the child a rifle and the child brought it to the school. And unfortunately, other children died. And that may not be a missing child scenario, but that's why I brought up the topic. How can we delve into missing children and what it really means to everyone here, and how we have the perspective of a missing child? And there's much more, but I'm going to open it up with that, and with that theme, and let's break it down, and hopefully we can empower someone so everyone can benefit from this program.
Well, yeah, you just
I think we've all been. I can say that I understand that we've been blessed not to, in the physical sense, to have a missing child in the way of someone kidnapping or human trafficking our children, or maybe they ran away once or twice or something of that nature. I know for myself as a child, I ran away, but I never left the house. I just hid in the bed, box spring, the mattress. I didn't know where to go, so I just hid in the box spring. I remember this clearly. Police came, they looked under the bed, and the police might maybe lazy, and maybe they didn't care, but they put the light under there, but they didn't see me because I was up in the box spring. And so just those kind of things you see, because kids do sometimes get issues with us as parents. Sometimes disagree with us, begin to do things, and in many instances, they sometimes feel like they can make it better on their own, or they can go out and hide somewhere and do that, and almost sometimes feel like, hey, it might hurt us, it might make us feel some kind of way as the parent that they're not there, and it does. And I think that no parent feels, in a sense, that my kid is gone and missing out on know where it is, and it's like, well, forget about them. I think about this story that was in Detroit, about a 13-year-old girl, and she didn't come home, and they didn't do anything about her not coming home until the next day when they went to the school and reported her. They went to the school. Maybe they thought she ran away or whatever, but it's good. She's still missing to this day. So it's a big part of that. So these kind of things happen, but I know that we're looking at that. But there are some, when we think about missing children, there is other things that happen to us, and I think sometimes with fathers and families, that children are missing, and they could be missing sometimes mentally, physically, and they could be right in your face. So these are things sometimes we have to think about and look at beyond just some one-dimensional missing children idea, and why children are missing, and what we do through our fear of it and our response, because our response is what really, really matters in the long run when we think about a missing child. The missing child, let's get a posse together and go look for them. But sometimes our children are missing, and I don't want to be too hard on parents a lot of times, but sometimes our kids are missing because of what we may not have given them, and someone else can give them. I'm speaking this from years of working in domestic violence, human trafficking. If something is more appealing one place, the kids will be very interested in going and doing that compared to being with you, who might be telling them rules, regulations, things that have their best benefit. And like I always say, your legacy in mind. Like you don't, you want your kid to be the best, the brightest, and do the best things. So you may be hard on them. You may be more strict on them. You may, have expectations for them that other people don't have. Oh, let's just have a good time. Everything can be great, whatever. But there is this point that we're looking at. So again, this conversation is not one-minded. It is going to go across the spectrum of what mindset the fathers have here tonight. So I just wanted to put that in the air. See Lightborn look like he already percolating over there. And my Lightborn, I just want to small off the topic. Are you going to be Uncle Luke's campaign manager, run for Congress?
Right, really, I forgot to ask about that.
No, I put Luke in God's hand. He's going to do whatever God tells him to do. I trust that part. But as far as it pertains to the topic, I think disconnection comes before disappearance, right? And so when we talk about the disappearance of our children, well, you got to first trace it back to the disconnection of your child before you can understand the disappearance of them. And right between disappearance and disconnection is defiance. And so first phase or first step will be disconnection. Second step will be defiance. Third step will be disappearance. And to your point about the many metaphorical ways our children can disappear, whether they just physically disappear, mentally, psychologically, and emotionally, because you have depression and things like that. We got to trace back when they start disappearing. So if you had your children was always taking part in family events like movie outings, going to the park and stuff like that, and they start to going to church. It just as simple as that too. They could have been going to church with you on a regular basis, and all of a sudden they stop, or you give them a license to stop, and it's no longer a priority or necessity because you want to give them a certain level of independence as it pertains to their age. Then that's when they start to develop their own priorities. Or guess what? Even sometimes the priorities are somebody else, and defiance can set in because what they think is independence or something like that can be far from it. And so when they start to develop their own narrative, they want to join another nation. So they will leave the nation of your home, right, to join the nation of whatever. It could be the community, the nation of whatever their surroundings may be. And because of that, the disappearance will probably look different. I've seen all type of disappearance. I've been working in social work for now. This is actually 30 solid years, from 96 to 2026 right now. And I've witnessed a plethora of disappearance when it comes to our children. I've seen children across all spectrum, and they don't necessarily have to be what we call a quote unquote bad kid, because I think the ratio is high, but good kids disappearing more so than bad kids in a more severe way. People are like, what? When you have a child who's more likely obedient and does the right thing, the severity of their disappearance tend to be more higher, for the lack of a better term, but higher than than a defiant kid was, or a quote unquote bad kid was. And so these will be the kids who suffer in silence. Their depression will be more severe, and they're more likely to commit suicide. And so you're talking about disappearance from a suicidal rate. And then guess what? You can talk about disappearance from a homicidal rate, in which we can just go on any YouTube channel and you start to see what we want to call black on black crime, with young people killing young people. you could disappear into that. So we can, I mean, our children can disappear so many ways. I think what it is for us that Black fathers, we're so caught up in the stereotype of the disappearance of Black fathers and the different stereotypes of Black fathers. We can never really get to the topic of the disappearance of our children because we suffer more from the stereotype than our children do. So we're so busy fighting and battling the stereotype of fathers being missing that the topic of missing children never comes up.
You know, that's a really good point. You know, someone I'm gonna tell you something that's interesting. It's so interesting, and I wanna acknowledge brother Chuck there. He look like he's driving. He might not want to talk, but I just want to acknowledge he in the building, brother Chuck Henry Hand. One of the things that someone said in talking about us on the show is that we sometimes do this over talk, right? But we have a very good manageable way that we over talk, but then we say, and I think I had to explain to him, I think it might just be because of the network, right? So I might be saying something, Rohan might say something, and it sounds like we're talking at the same time because we might be on the delay. I can tell you right now, we're on major delays within our time speaking to each other because I'm sitting here with 5, 6 screens, looking at all the screens at different times, different things. Sometimes I'm looking at one screen and I'm saying, I'm talking right now, but why Lightborn talking? So just so people know, we are very, we know, just understand there is this idea of time delay and distance. It's not, and I just wanted to say that out so people, understand. But as you can see, we're very polite and manageable to each other. There's no over talking. When we hear a brother talking, we definitely want to get them, share with them what they need to be able to hear and make sure we get to hear from everybody most of the time. So I just want to, every time I have to, I really like to, I think be transparent. That's the word I love to use. The transparency about what we doing, why we doing, where we doing it, and that keeps it honest to me. I love, back to the top, but I love what you said, Lightborn, because so often this dynamic of us surviving fatherhood don't allow us sometimes to even be fathers, right? We're like we can't even get to a place that we could be concerned about our missing child. And if let's say our child missing, it could be we the reason why our child missing. And we were like, we didn't even know they would be missing. Not that we didn't know, but we didn't know, their missing was contributed to something that we may have been derelict in doing or something we didn't approach to them. And so sometimes when I see some of the fathers that I see who be going hard, right? And people be like, yo, this man be going hard on his kids. He always got something to say. He overbearing. And I sometimes be like, hey, you can't ever say he didn't tell you. You can't ever say that he wasn't there. He wasn't there. The person to be the first person to put the blow in your ear. Now you can't make people listen, but you definitely can be the person that reinforce it to them. But then I also say it comes with a balance. You don't want to shovel all this food down your children's throat. Next thing they're gonna be doing is throwing up. You want to feed it to them in a way that they're feeling full, and they can say, "Can I have some more, Daddy? Can I have some more?" So that's my 2 cents on that part of what we look like and how we look as fathers and operating in our capacity.
As we talk about children, there's so many different facets to this, so many different branches to this topic. We're talking about foster kids. Some would say foster kids are missing. True or false? They're missing their parent. They're placed in a home where they get some form of love or some form of shelter, some would say. We're talking about children who were abducted. They were abducted for their organs, maybe kidneys, heart, maybe other body parts. We're talking about kids who were drawn into what they call a prostitute ring, meaning they were enslaved into sex slavery, if that's the right word, or if a word exists. We're talking about children who just never had anyone love them, meaning many parents are not plugged into their children. And I use the word plugged in, meaning they have a child, but they're not really plugged in into their child, where the child get that energy, get that feeling of wanted, want to be there. So when we talk about missing children, there's so many different branches we could branch off into. And we want the children to grow, to shine, blossom where they're planted. And it's, as fathers and mothers, and I'm only for the mothers, we really have to make every effort with our children, because it's really challenging raising children and young adults these days. But we have to make time to show them that we're plugged in. And even sometimes for single fathers or divorced fathers, Lightburn said it best: you can divorce the mom, but you can't divorce the child. So if you are unplugged from the mom, make sure you stay plugged in with the child or the young adult.
Yeah.
I know that.
Go ahead, Timmy. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I think about, I guess I didn't think about that as my kids growing up, specifically about missing kids. I guess my perspective was more, I didn't want to lose my kids to the world. I didn't want them to be, I didn't want the world to capture them, chew them up, and spit them out.
It's my phone. It's me.
So I was very.
I feel right keeping my son.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chuck.
Chuck, we can hear you.
Hey, Chuck, yeah.
Now you got to put it on mute.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So my perspective when my kids were growing up, I tried to be involved in as much of everything that they were involved in, so I could know who was involved with it, so I could know the parents of those who were involved in it. I specifically remember when my oldest reached high school age, we were all going to church as a family, and I made sure that I became a student volunteer, so I could know who she was hanging out with, know the parents who she was hanging out with. Same thing as the boys got older. It wasn't so much in an effort of fearing that they would go missing. It was just, I just didn't want to lose them to scenarios beyond my control. It's a different age. I remember the time when I was growing up, my mom and dad say, go out, come play, go play. I went wherever I wanted to. As long as I was in by the time the lights came on, I was good. You can't do that right now. That's how gated communities got invented and stuff like that. So I kind of appreciate the different aspects of missing children that Brother Rohan, you brought out, Brother Lightborn, you brought out. And I appreciate the step-by-step process that can go, that there's a disconnect, and then there was another word that you used, and then all of a sudden, they're gone. That's very interesting. I think as a father's response, how do you recognize the disconnect? How do you recognize the, how do you see that? How do you know that that's coming? So maybe Brother Lightborn, you can delve deeper into that.
I'm gonna answer that, but I'm Chuck. Go ahead and jump in, and then I answer it after Chuck finishes with his comment.
All right, I couldn't hear the last stuff going on. My phone, my service been bad. But how y'all doing, everybody? I mean, how everybody doing?
How you doing, fam?
All right. I'm having an issue right now. Like, my son mom texted me tonight asking, "Was my son coming home?" My son's 5 for the most part, and he doesn't like to be around his mom. I'm not the person to try to keep him away, but she got like a control thing. She the mom and all of that. But now he's at a point where his his behavior is becoming past out of control right now. He already then left the house where a stranger had to help him come back in the house, and then he then grabbed the knife and like try to like charge her at 5. So he really, and then was like, when I do take him home and force him to go because that's still his mom, and I don't be trying to keep him away, I'm starting to feel the resent, like the way he talking to me, like when I'm like getting close to the house, like, why you bringing me here? Like, don't like I'm seeing him screaming for help, but it's like I give her the benefit of the doubt because that's his mom, and then the system ain't the best. They give me quick dates past a month date. I just went back down there recently. They gave me still a month date. Right now, the closest date I got is April 8th. But the custody situation, I keep him the days that they told me and any other day that's convenient for the mother. It's just like when it's not convenient for her is when she wants to come get him and use that mom card. And this my child too. But I'm never trying to take anything away from her. I just be having worried about my son's best interest and his mentality and his sanity at the end of the day, because I'm not understanding why he's even acting like that towards her. So this is one of the main reasons that I'm happy I found y'all to try to get more of an understanding. But I do work with kids, so I know every approach isn't the right approach.
Well, you and your mom, you and his mom, y'all have what you call well, y'all got, well, I wouldn't say equal access.
Yeah. Well, we do have equal custody right now, but she right now she put a petition in for a custody modification. But my door is open 24 hours, 7 days a week for my children. But she the one that really has the schedule of work. I work in a school setting right now where I could bring my child to school if I needed to. So it's like I try to make it easy on her by taking the load off of her, but she like keep my son away from her type stuff. Where now I try to make him call her right now because I don't even feel safe for him to go back, honestly. But she's still trying to force it, and that forcing part ain't making him react any differently. He's just getting worse and worse. Like,
yeah, I mean, to the point that I think well, remember I told you, disconnection comes before defiance,
right?
And disappearance. And so that's probably a good example of it, because y'all disconnection creates his defiance. And sometimes he can use his defiance to exploit y'all disconnection, which means play y'all against each other.
Right.
And so, he's a child. And
Fine.
the same, you're stuck with an even greater task, because now you have to deal with 3 levels of trauma: your own, her trauma, and his trauma, right?
Right.
And so with that, when that particular thing happened, which is going to be a little unfair for you, because at some point she haven't really recovered or healed from whatever you guys had. So, which means she's not ready to evolve into what you are right now. You understand?
Gotcha.
Y'all have a reality, and then a past reality that she's, you guys kind of vaguely, her and the child, and maybe a little bit of yourself existing. And so to make that almost like, it's like you're a man, so you're going to have to give birth, take that whole family and give birth to that whole family, to a whole new reality with that family. And so
Gotcha.
the mom have that luxury to give birth to that child, but you have to give birth to an entire family. I think that's the reason why men are closer to God than women are. And when we start to get that revelation of the type of birth that we have to give to our families in order to give birth to society, it can be a scary thing. And I can understand the reason for abandonment and why guys are missing families. But yeah, you got a task on your hand, and I would only tell you that you also have a divine intervention, because, I mean, right now you need some impossible answers that only an impossible God can give you. I'm not even sure if
Right.
you're a faith-bearing man, but I'm pretty sure you do hear the voices that give you the guidance. And sometimes I
No,
think
I do.
we have to figure it out. Well, it's a terminology I usually use with my wife. I'm like, we got to study, learn which voice is master to be determined which voice is master. Something we have to master the voices, and so that's going to be a juggling trick, because now you got to do you got to juggle your emotion and your education at the same time, and they don't match.
Yeah. No.
Your education is never going to agree with your emotions. They're just going to never. They're always going to be at odds with each other. And so, but when you do, you understand, that's when you're going to be on a divine level and another level where you can pretty much master anything, but you got to first learn how to master yourself and then your circumstances and then the world. And so, yeah, you're in a very tough spot, but it's not something that you can't overcome. But I couldn't tell you, give you a 1, 2, 3 punch on how to do that, because that's something that your creator is going to have to give you, and you're going to have to master on your own.
I'd like to add something to Chuck too. I'd like to say a quick word to Chuck. Chuck, you there? If you can you hear me, Chuck? Okay, he said his phone was going out, so we can have a quick chat with Chuck about the situation that he's in, and it's simple. Love the child. Use soft words. Both of them love the child. Well, I've been there. Many of us fathers have been there in some shape or form. Use love. Use love and approach it with a loving situation, with a loving word, a kind word. Because really and truly, the child is what both of them. They made a child. They brought the child into the world. Let's work with love. Because the reality is, it can overcome most of the challenges that Chuck has with his partner. Be open to talk to her, listen to her, and hopefully both of you, if you need mediation, there are people who can mediate, and you guys can work out to some normalcy when it comes to the child.
For the child next week and having a better week with conversation wise, because I'm not sure what's going on with my service today. My phone bill is due coming up soon, so I'm thinking that's probably why.
Well, Chuck, you there? Chuck.
Hey, bro, let me say something. I think this is a perfect moment for us to talk about what really happens. You hear what Chuck said? Chuck said something that was very profound. And listen, I know exactly what he's talking about. Sometimes when you survive it, and you have all these other things that you have to be maneuvering, surviving is just surviving. Listen, phone might not be working that good because I got my phone bill coming up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, these are my rent coming. I got all these. I got real life stuff. Plus, I got the stuff to be able to deal with. And it's easy. It's very easy for people to say, "Oh, you should handle these things. These things should be handled quickly." Oh, you should. We don't live in that world like that, right? We doing some people doing the best they can at the time that they can do it, and it's just that sometimes, and that's why I think it's so important. Sometimes us having this platform to share that you can still do the other things and still be surviving. You can still, advocate for your child and still survive. You can still, the kids don't even know about that. They don't know, but they do know sometimes what we do and how we operate with them. But I just wanted to make a mention of how real these scenarios are and how it is in life, because Chuck said something that was so important. Man, I'm not in a good reception. Phone bill might be coming in. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you got T-Mobile,
I got Boost Mobile, so I might be behind on that one.
might be up. And these are the kind of things we deal with when we operating. We're operating in this world that we're operating in, and it is what it is. But the best thing to do is looking for strategies and skills to work our way through all of this. And I think
I'm a fighter to the end. I don't know how to quit too much. Like I'm gonna keep on finding a way. If it's a will, is a way. I know that much. I got faith in God. So I'm I'm just keep pushing. We're gonna figure it out. That's all I can say.
So Chuck, you mentioned the word fight. It's a common word that's used that's just being used by a lot of people. Fathers,
I don't know if I'm with you or not. The music cut off.
yeah, they, we don't use the word fight. We advocate. We advocate for our children. Can you hear me?
Hello.
You there? Okay, you went on mute.
Yeah, I think he might not. He might not. Well, one thing Chuck can do is he can go back and listen to this, and he'll hear these things that
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna definitely do that. I'm gonna make sure I do that too, Dr. Ron. I will be watching this again. I'm gonna definitely look at it again because y'all been making a lot of sense to me. And my brother said something to me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. We hear you.
Okay, I was speaking to my brother a little bit earlier. He made it do the Project Dad program some years ago, and then he
Yeah, as you can see, he's going in and out. Yeah.
Yeah, listen. It's okay. We know how to adjust to this. It's not. And I want to make very clear point to this. This is some people have platforms and be like, I can't deal with this. Don't bring them on. You ain't this and that. Listen, that's not reality, man. That's not how people live for real. I learned that when we started doing this virtual platform, that people gonna come in and out. They're gonna be on the street. They're gonna be. They might be at work. They might be doing anything. But I say it don't matter because it's not for show. This for real life. We're trying to have time to talk to a brother about real life things with his family and for him as a father. It don't matter if we, I mean, except to the time brother came on the shirt, he had no shirt on or that. But I remember back in the day, brother came on, he had no shirt, he was smoking this stogie. But even then, but that brother learned something that night as well, and he operated from it. So I think that this is what we have to learn how to do: is to meet people and be what people are, because being someone else don't connect with. You know what I'm saying? And having patience, because patience is important, man. And this is how can we talk about it on our platform? That's what you should be doing as a father, as a dad, as a co-parent, as a partner, as a husband. And then we don't have the same kind of patience for people who come around us. That just doesn't fly in the same capacity. So I just like to point that kind of stuff out to people, that if they do have platforms and they're doing things, this gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen.
Ron, you don't have to really explain our platforms to people who's gonna just probably be natural critics of it anyway, or put themselves in competition with it. I think until we decide we want to be expansions of each other, we can always be competitors of each other. So you'll be wasting your breath there. But we're going to just not even waste any more second on why we're here in the first place. And that's to be exactly what we are. We're to think. We're here to think, and we're a think tank. Right. You understand? So there's no right answer. There's just a group of men in search of the right answers. And so, and we're unapologetic about that. And we're always open for it. So, and if you want to truly be a critic, then be a critic where it counts and come on the show and voice your opinion. But to do it behind the scenes makes you a coward. But nevertheless, I don't mince words, you know what I mean? So nonetheless, when it's talking about this particular young man who's in a real situation, and then I'm going to be honest with you, I often see there's a particular stereotype that I observe, or not even a stereotype, but a particular type. Let me use that word. Not a stereotype, but a particular type of men that seem to find themselves in that situation. And you know who those, not the wrong men. You know what type of men are? They're not the wrong men. They're reasonable men. And so I see the men who get the most, get the most pushback from women and the most fight from the children of their mother It's not the wrong men. It's usually the reasonable men. So much so when you're the wrong man, there's no expectation at all. But when you're a reasonable man, the expectation is unreasonable. You understand? And so with that, and I'm going to tell you something. There's something dysfunctional about trying to do the right thing in society, because the people who try to do the right thing in the society get treated the worst. That's unfortunate but true. And that's okay, because I remember something the Bible said that makes a lot of sense to me now. I couldn't remember it then. He said, you'll suffer a lot of things for my name's sake. And so I think the pushbacks and the fights that we get in life is never so much against us. But I think most of the time it's against the God that's either in us or for us that keep us fighting for others. And so with that, you'll find yourself, and I think this is the most important thing, Rohan, that pertaining to the topic. And I want this for anybody, especially because I've seen you guys come to this outcome. Rohan, I've watched you come to the outcome. I've seen Tenny come to the outcome. And I've seen Ron come to the outcome in your own circumstances. But you guys showed me that death is not the only option. So the depth of a relationship is not the only option, because that's what we're actually taught. The other option is superior option. That's the other option is and nobody knows what deliverance look like, even though we talk every week, and I see deliverance every week when I see Rohan in this situation, when I see Tenny in this situation, when I see Ron in this situation, and I guess it becomes a matter of, did you survive the situation or succeeded? And anybody, I don't believe in that survival thing. You understand? Because it's like saying you're a survivor is saying that it's like putting you on the same level of the thing you survived. But I will say that you guys are successes of your situation, because Rohan, I see you and your daughters, despite the circumstances. You understand? Despite the depth of that particular relationship, you understand? I see the deliverance. You understand? The deliverance that you exist in right now. Same thing with you, Tenny. I see the deliverance that you exist in right now. Your daughter calls you up, and you understand? You're able to go to a whole new state and be an even greater father than you was when you understand? Or to be an extension of a father. So those things didn't kill who you were, whether it be as a father, as a husband, or whatever the case may be. And so death was not the only option. But sometimes speaking about death is so salacious that it kind of overrides the deliverance that we exist in. We've been delivered, but nobody have a narrative for it. And so deliverance is true for you, Rohan. Deliverance is true for Tenny. Deliverance is true for Ron. Deliverance is true for myself. But what does the narrative look like? And then when it becomes true for us, it becomes true for our children. Because the devil will want you to know, and even want you to think, that death is the only option. I can tell you right now, no, the greatest option is deliverance. And if you can see that deliverance for yourself, you can see that deliverance for your child, even the mother of your child, you'll see better days. But if you see death as the only option, then death will become your objective, and you'll wind up either killing somebody or yourself. So you got to be very careful about the narrative and the vision that you let the devil plant in your mind. Because the devil truly wants to make no mistake about it. The Bible is very clear. He roll about like a roaring lion. He goes about like a roaring lion who seeks who he can devour. And where he can devour you at is through your mind. He can get you to believe the thing that he wants you to believe, as opposed to the thing that God tells you every day. Most of us have, and this is true for most human beings, most of us have more love, you understand, in our lifetime. We have more love than losses in our lifetime, but the devil want to believe you have more losses than love. And if he gets you to believe that scenario, you're already there.
I'm on board with that. You know, as you talk about missing child, we had a child in Broad here in Florida. We're talking about a divorced couple. Child is taken away from the father, and the child murdered the mother and her father and the neighbor. So a missing child can also be used in that scenario. They were together. They weren't seen seen eye to eye. They separated. Injunction. What's it called when you file a file? You file something in the court to keep the person away, like a. It's called like
Restraining order.
a restraining order. It wasn't really enforced, or it was enforced. It is enforced on certain groups of people, and on certain groups it's not enforced, if I might say so. And we lost a mother, her father, a neighbor who had nothing to do with the situation, and we also are going to lose a father now. So here we are, a missing child that is there. So the child is missing, but it is with the mother. Now think about that, missing child. And also, if you say that to anyone, a missing child, did you call the cops? Where's the child? Where was the child? But missing can be looked at in many different ways. Many different ways. Because a father, as we always say in the program, moms carry the baby for 9 months, and dads carry the baby in their brain for life. So, talking about a missing child, there's so many different ways we can look at that and see how many people get hurt when people lose good communication regarding their child. Food for thought.
I saw that situation, and I looked at that video as well, or that news clip rather. Something was interesting for me, being a father, and I think as a parent it would have resonated with most of us. I remember seeing that video where, of course, the father he killed the mother first. I think he killed the neighbor. No, he killed his father-in-law first. He killed the father-in-law, which is her father. Then he killed the mother, and then he killed the neighbor third. Yeah. And I remember something that stuck out to me more than all the atrocities was, after he did all that killing he was doing, his daughter was following behind him every step of the way. And all she didn't see a killer, she didn't see a terrorist, she didn't see none of that. Right. All she saw was her dad. And you could see her still running behind him with the expectation a child have for you to be my dad. No matter what your now here it is, a devout, terrible killer. And that child, in her eyes, he's still the perfect father and her father. And it's something that's just magical about that I think if we was to tap into that with the right intelligence and the right motivation and intentions and stuff like that, I think as men, we could be something phenomenal when it comes to that. But to see the level of, I couldn't even put the science behind or how that child saw that father at that moment, or was able to still see that father as her father and with a certain level of love and expectation at that particular moment. I couldn't even put that into words. I would have to study that probably for the rest of my life and probably still wouldn't come up with an answer. But to see that level of miracle, I guess I could say that happened at that particular moment, that would probably be studied for the rest of our life, to figure out what was that and how can we put that into words to empower not just fathers or children, but empower families and societies as a whole. So I thought I just would expand on that story.
I'd like to add a quick one too. The cops came on the scene and saw the father at 2:00 in the morning walking in the community. Shots were reported, fired. And I'm saying it is so strange that here's this kind of male walk with a child at this time of morning. No one, even the cops, ever stopped to ask him, why are you out here 2:00 in the morning with a child walking on the street? So I don't want to blame the cop. Someone's going to get blamed, but I hope this sad situation can make some changes in the county regarding domestic violence and how we perceive people, because I'm of the belief it was a African-American male with a child in that morning, he would have been stopped. Why are you walking on the road with a child this time in the morning? Same as when the restraining order went out, he had guns. They came over and said, oh, it's one of us. Maybe it's one of us. Hey, man, you okay? Because he probably can have suave or good finesse to talk to a cop. He never gave up none of his weapons. The system is so overwhelmed with DV that when they ask, let's see how much paperwork you have, the guy had like 50 cases of people who are in the same situation, on children who are in that same situation. So is this a snowball effect of mistake that's happening over and over, or is it or how did this slide the cracks? And it happens every day. And we only hope that the powers that be can hear us asking to make some changes. I mean, it's good enough a judge can sign a restraining order, but what power does it have if it's not being applied?
No, but Ron, I gotta give you the backstory on that particular one. That guy, and that particular family and that community as a whole, because the whole community was affected by it, they were victims of reverse stereotypes. You just pretty much explained it out perfectly. You said if it was a black father walking with his child in the middle of the night, the police will tend to be overprotected in that situation because that would look suspect and would heighten their security antennas. But where they become a victim of reverse stereotype is because they underestimated. So if they were black, they overestimated unsafe community, blah, 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 unsafe person, unsafe color. But when you're white in the gated community, then you understand? You overestimated, well, oh, he's safe. He's probably taking the kid out for a walk until she can go to sleep. You see how I created a narrative already for both. You understand? So because the narrative actually exists for both. So yes, I think we can under-exaggerate things in some cases and over-exaggerate things in certain cases. And you're talking about that time of the night. So now we have to give some grace to the police officers as well, because I'm working overnight shift. I want to get back home to my family. You understand? And depending on what type of night I had will determine what type of empathy I have. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever type of night I had will determine what type of empathy I have. That's not just true for police officers, that's true for most service providers in general. And so I think I said this a few shows back, but I think me personally, I sometimes, and I'm very studied in my culture, I'm very self-aware of who I am and where I'm from. But I think sometimes that may override the importance, because I think I can go my whole life trying to be the greatest black man I am and never accomplish being the greatest human I am. You understand what I'm saying? And so you got to be extremely wise. You got to be extremely aware of how to balance being not just, and that goes for anybody. You can be a particular black man or white man or woman. You understand? And not allow your problems to override your purpose. So I can't allow the problems of being a black man to override the purpose of me being a human, because God called me to be a human probably long before he called me to be a black man. And so you to balance that in society, and that's just, again, not just limited to black man, because again, you got the one man, you got the police man, you understand, so many different man that comes along with problems. The Bible, and he guarantees that. He said, a man's life, coincidentally, a man's life, one man, police man, black man, whatever man, his life is a few days, but those days are full of trouble. Simply saying, there's not a man that's going to be born that is not going to have his share of troubles. And so when I back up and start to take account for that in inventory, then it allows me to prioritize myself better as not only as a black man, but a human that I'm the better human I'm trying to be. So that's where I'm at with. And then that's when it's going to come down to being a father going to be limited to you being a black man or being a better human. And that is something. And guess what? Being a parent as well. Is being a mother or be a parent is limited to being a man or a woman or be a better human. And I think that's a lot of growing and a lot of narrative changing and empathy that we're going to have amongst each other to make sure that we strengthen ourselves enough. So if our children disappear, we have enough strength to make them reappear in the life that God called them to have. Sorry,
Oh, interesting.
I appreciate that word, Lightborn. I think one of the things that we should also address is there's a great, maybe I better talk from my perspective. For me, there is a great weight with regards to all of the circumstance I have to deal with. And, I don't know what that father was going through to, pick up a weapon and, eliminate people. And I'm not saying that that's something that I would do, but what I identify with is there's a great weight that occurs as we as men, black fathers, husbands, black husbands, ex-husbands. When I think about the storms that have forced me to push through, I guess I'm kind of glad the Lord knows exactly how much I can bear, because there have been some extremely down days, and to be able to have overcome, and I appreciate your encouragement, Lightborn, to be able to overcome is not necessarily a credit to my mental strength, but to me yielding to the future me that God is forming me into. So, man, I appreciate the think tank in that we can kind of like decompress, if you will, with some of the weightiness of our issues that we go through as fathers, and all these persons that we have to manage in our daily life. For me, it's a heavy thing. It's a heavy thing, and not to say that my problems are worse than other people's problems, but my problems are my problems, and it's difficult. It's difficult to push through at times, and so I kind of identify the terrible, just that people go through a lot. People go through a lot, and when they come through, that should be celebrated. It should be acknowledged. It should be encouraged, because once they get to the other side, that's a blessing. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
You're wrong. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to say that. By the way, you start talking, Rohan, because this is our ongoing conversation about.
Yeah.
And I think you put it in a perfect light point. You said tonight about being a human, right? And a lot of times the human of us can really be affected in ways that people don't think we should be affected. Me and Rohan have had conversations over and over, like what could have stopped somebody from doing this or being that way. And a lot of times it's because they are isolated and alone. They don't have we one reason why we have the platform is so people will be able to come to a place to hear other people, to identify and know that, to normalize that they're not individually by themselves facing this kind of thing. And that many of us face multitude of different kind of things. Everybody don't face the same thing. And everybody don't have the same human capital to take on all the same stuff. Like it could be the most little thing that could be little to me, and it could be the biggest thing to Rohan. That and I'm looking like Rohan, man, that ain't nothing. But it could be everything that is the core of who he is that's being affected in that. And that's important to be able to really recognize and know that. I think about Rohan, when I think about that, I think about the guy who was in Maryland who did that, who went on live and went to his ex-wife and killed his girlfriend because the same tactics was used on him, the same tactics was used on him twice, right? So then he had no recourse, he believed, and when you believe they have no recourse, fight, flight, fright kicks in, right? And a lot of times, people being males go to aggression and go to fight. Yeah, I'm continuing to say this, and not being able to manage our emotions or having a real representation of how we should have manage our emotions comes into play. Like, who do we balance it off of? Who do we get to talk to? Because it is very easy to go from 0 to 100 when you feel like you have no way out. It's like you're caught in a corner. It's like, and don't forget that these people are not just angry, mad, crazy people. There is something there's an ABC of what happened. Antecedent, there's a behavior, and there's a consequence. And a lot of times, the antecedent, we don't hear nothing about. We just see their behavior. And then we say, this was a horrible consequence for the outcome of what they did and what ended up happening. But you don't know how many nights this person might have cried and begged and asked, don't do this. Don't have this, come on, try not, and again, people take it lightly. I've been watching a court case today where the guy was getting a divorce from his wife. Well, he wanted to get a divorce from his wife, but his wife had ended up, when he told her he wanted to get a divorce, she put him on child support for a kid that wasn't his kid. But because they was married, she had the kid while they was married, that wasn't his kid. It didn't matter, and just the tenacity. And I think that this man had to go to court and get a lawyer to defend that, right? And so he said to himself, you can only imagine, and I will say this. This is what you have to learn how to do. That I want to admire that guy, this Hispanic guy. He was so calm, he was so cool, he was collected, he never got out of character. He's really impressionable upon the judge, being very clear about what he didn't want, what happened. He even said that, listen, when I was with her, I would not parent a child. But now we're not going to be together. I'm not still parent a child, but I'm not going to pay child support for a child that's not my child. Now, some people might look at that different or whatever, but listen, sometimes, you'll say, hey, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but maybe it depends if it's your baby, if you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, Ron, that's where, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that's where it becomes a double standard. Because I can think of so many circumstances when the shoe was on the other foot, the expectation was totally different. And I'm talking about from the most minute person, and particularly the most minute woman to the most famous woman. You'll see it with Tina Turner. You understand? You see, I just completely irresponsible, person who he was, and you'll see those weren't her kids, but she just jumps in with the level of empathy. And I think men, when it comes to men, we have to learn how to go to empathy university, because if we don't learn empathy university, we're gonna continue to think that I'm gonna be honest with you, we're gonna over exaggerate our circumstances and totally disregard theirs. When what you just explained happened to women 100 to 1 when it happened more than it happened to men. And so, yeah, that happened to that one guy, but it happened, what you just explained happened to women on a given basis. So much so we have one of the famous stage plays turned movies was a very good example of that. I was like, you're a jackass. But he saw it for some strange reason as being a strong man or the black man's understanding. I'm like, we're not that. To me, I don't think we were that. I said, that's a very ignorant ass black man, but I'm talking about fences. For me, I came away with a totally different perspective. I'm like, oh, that ain't me. You understand? Because I guess they were saying, I guess the premise of what fencing was about was saying the black man goes through so much in society that when it came to expressing ourselves, expressing the expressions that we have to our own, or the blatant, you might want to say blatant disregard we have of our own. Because I'm like, man, he was a terrible ass husband. You totally disregarded your wife. You damn sure disregarded your son, and you couldn't. If you couldn't definitely give to your son what you couldn't give to your damn wife. And then he goes out on top of that and have another child out of wedlock because he felt like he was missing something. So the hell with what they missing. and I mean, I'm saying to myself, I don't know. I don't think he chose black men in a favorable light. And they say, well, we misunderstood. I'm like, you damn right, because I don't think there's really nothing to understand in that. That man was purely selfish. And so I didn't see the premise of that really. I'm like, listen, that wasn't even movie worthy. That just feeds into the stereotype of what we're not. You understand? So when it comes to that, I almost lost my train of thought. But I think go back to the empathy part. I think when it comes to the empathy of that, I think women, what you saw on TV, is I'm like, well, how many women go through that on a regular basis? And how many women are still willing to salvage the relationship and move forward in forgiveness and things like that? And so I think at a young age, and I thank God for learning this at a young age on what I teach it, I call it tear therapy. And so I thank God for being exposed to therapy at a young age, because I remember having a middle school breakup that hurt it, coincidentally, that hurt it on the same level an adult breakup would hurt. Because that breakup, and I guess we never believed that children can love on the same level as adults, and that's another story and another topic within itself. But for me, that was the first time that I got my heart broken, and I could say genuinely, because I tried not to cry because I was in public trying to make my way home from her house back to where I was living, and the tears just, and I remember the song too, Tina Marie, Out on a Limb. That's when we used to carry our boom boxes. So I'm listening to 99 Jam, and they put on Out on a Limb. I'm riding on the bike. I'm trying to get home. And man, I mean, and I think the realization of me, I just got dumped. But she did it, and she didn't do it in a disrespectful way. I was able to see the competition because I kind of drove up on her. And she explained it to me. So I was like, it's not really her fault. She was honest. So I can't make her evil and something she did correctly. And so I was like, okay. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have to give credit to myself because I was able to handle that situation in a I don't know whether I handled it right because I loved her or I handled it right because I was raised right to handle it right. I don't know. I couldn't tell you which one it was. But all I know is we all walked away from that situation amicably. And when I was on my bike, I guess when the realization hit that I just got dumped, and I mean the perfect storm, I got the realization I just got dumped. Boom, they just started playing Out on a Limb on the radio, and the tears just started flowing. But I was glad that I got to experience that at that particular age. And so when I would have gotten to my 20s and experienced it again, I had a playbook. You understand? I had a memory to understand if I survived it then, I'll survive it again. And so shedding blood became less of an option. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, somebody do you wrong that doesn't cross your mind. I'm like, no, as a man, it naturally crosses your mind. I would not sit here and tell you that shedding blood is not becomes at least a 30 to 40% option when you feel like you've been betrayed. Because if I said that, then that'll take away from the narrative and the statistics of all the violence in the world, particularly in America. So that's always a 30 to 40% option when it comes to betrayal, being in a relationship or whatever relationship, friendship, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But for me, because I survived it and I had a playbook and a point of reference when I was a kid, and I remember that was something, I'm like, you know what? I believe I didn't want to go through this again, but I believe that I can go through this again because it allowed me to get some things out. The hurt was real, so I didn't have to ignore it. I didn't get the chance to bury it, but I learned how to, you know what? I didn't bury it, but I learned how to give birth to it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So when it comes to hurt, I think when we chose to bury it, we end up burying people with it. But when we learn how to give birth to it, then we give birth to other people with it, which means that woman may get a second chance. That man she was cheating with may get a second chance. That child may get a second chance. And most importantly of all, we get a second chance when we don't. And so I really believe that if we can learn, and in your own way, however you decide you want to grieve, but I'll tell you thing anytime, and I'll tell you this emphatically, shedding tears, learning how to shed tears is way better than shedding blood. Because if you shed blood, you'll spend the rest of your life shedding tears. But if you learn how to shed tears, you'll never have to spend a day shedding blood.
I like how you put that light burn on. Wow. Well said. You know, we stopped again, missing child. It can, we have so much branches. But let's look at another. Let's start from the infant. If you look at light burns backdrop, you see an infant. It looks like it's in a woman's womb being developed, right?
That's
So let's,
that's a light bulb, but yeah, it's a fetus inside of a light bulb.
right. You mean well. But let's look at what really happens with missing children. We're talking about miscarriages. We're talking women, a family who want to start a family, and they have a miscarriage. She goes home, he goes home, the crib is there, but the baby, we didn't come home from the hospital with the baby today. You got to tell your co-workers, your mom, you got to tell the family, friends, what did you name the baby? Well, the baby didn't make it. That's a missing child. We were expecting. We were expecting the baby didn't come home. We prepared. We had the baby shower and so much more. We have a child who came home, and the baby who came home. Let's continue this journey. The baby came home. We are all excited. Everybody's happy. Guess what? We carry the baby to a friend's house. They have a pet. That pet is not dog. Is not baby friendly. For some reason, the pet get into the room. They in the morning, the baby is dead. So look at that. The baby's home. We did everything right, but the pet in the home is not. The pet is not baby friendly, and in the morning we find the baby deceased. And as we go along the journey, so many different things can affect a baby. Yeah, so many different things. So we continue. We're talking about what? Babies, what? 0 to 1. That's the time when everybody's biting your fingernails. You know, want to make sure the baby is talking. His or her heart is working. We're biting our nails till we pass the 2s, right? And the baby start to walk, start to talk, start to do things that normal baby does. But as we go along the journey, other things happen. We have cases where some babies are born with, I think they call it ADA or some developmental challenge. That can break up a family. Maybe the father, the mother can't deal with that challenge and they walk away from the baby. Then a stepdad or stepmom comes in and you hear stories of a baby being beaten to death. A poor child being beaten to death just because they didn't come out to societal expectations. There's so much things that these children go through along the journey to be an adult, to live a life that all of us want to live. And as we go up the journey, I could talk many more things. What I would say to everyone who is thinking of having a baby is in your reach, or baby's in your family, it's just advocate. Do the best you can. Do better. Because that's what it really boils down to. Put in the work. Protect the baby. Because that's the right thing to do. I can't give you accolades for doing the right thing. And as Lightburn said, there are consequences for doing the wrong thing. And as Ron would say, we don't get to choose the consequences. Right, Ron? You remember that one, Ron?
Listen, you can make choice. You have the choice to do whatever you want, but you don't get to choose the consequence, how that consequence plays out. So be thinking very clearly and strategically based on what your choices are and what you're going to do, because you have no control over what and sometimes the consequence may not be what you want, but it might be what you need, right? So sometimes that happens. And with that, listen, I'm going to say, hey, man, we had.
Ron, I left something out. This is very important too. Parents and particularly fathers, share your vulnerable stories. Because I share this, my heartbreak stories. with my children all the time. And I never knew why at the time. I just thought it was a good story to tell. But when I look at it, I'm like, no, Lionel, that's not just a story. That's a workshop you're sharing. That's a strategy. But so don't let your don't. I'm telling you, your stories become your strategy, especially when you invest them and share them in the right places. So please share your stories so it can become a strategy for your children, so they can make it over the hills and mountains you made it over. That's all I want to say.
True words.
Well, with that being said, listen, great opportunity to take it right there. Is there any final words anybody wants to? Are we able to rest this conversation in peace?
I'm gonna say this for fathers on this program and for every father out in the world. When you bring a child into the world, if you have love for your partner, that love is gonna share, because that child needs love too. So think about it. If you're giving 100% to your partner, you may have to take 20% and give to your baby, because now we have another child, then another child. So the love has to spread. Be open to spread the love to everyone in the home. That's what I like to say before I leave tonight. The love has to be shared. Sometimes some people just want 100% love, and we cannot leave the children out.
100% love. Listen, let's 100% love, and I'll say this as we get ready to close. Remember, love yourself, because it's hard. You can't love no child, you can't love no partner, you can't love nobody unless you're really loving yourself, and that takes some sacrifice sometimes, because sometimes we believe that we don't even deserve love. We should just serve, provide, and protect. And when we love ourselves, we can love better and harder. I want to again thank you guys. I want to thank Brother Chuck for coming on. I know he probably rolling in the street, but he was able to get this conversation. He's probably gonna come back because we see he's dealing with something that he really wants to work through. And I invite any guy, anybody hearing this in the sound of my voice, don't feel any way. Come to and give your mind and your thought about what you feel, and maybe let's see what we can whip up in the think tank. Think tank can give you better ideas and better choices, and also just give you the support you need to know that you're not alone in this journey through manhood and fatherhood. And I think that's the biggest part. Before we go, I just want to again recognize and thank our sponsors. We didn't get to do it in the beginning, so let's start with our first sponsor. That's JAG, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach. If you're looking for an attorney, you can hit JAG, attorney at law. Johnny A. Gaspar, Esquire. You hit him at j.gaspar@jag1law.com. Phone number 305-827-8087. Or hit his website at www.jag1law.com. We want to thank our fraternal sponsors, Fort Lauderdale chapter of Omega Psi Phi, Zeta Chi chapter in Fort Lauderdale, continuing to be a sponsor of Fatherhood Think Tank. Our international chapter, Zeta Xi Nu chapter, Lagos, Nigeria, international chapter of Omega Psi Phi that also supports our Fatherhood Think Tank through their Fatherhood Initiative. And last but not least, our local Philadelphia Philly Q's Omega Lambda chapter of Omega Psi Phi here in the beautiful city of brotherly love, that also through the Fatherhood Initiative support the Fatherhood Think Tank. Remember, fathers, if you are going through something, you can definitely hit the hotline. The hotline for dads, 1-877-4-DADS-411. If you can't get in touch with us. Also, I know that I wasn't able to get this comment. I wasn't able to get this on there, but Rohan wanted to share that if you have some issues looking for the toll-free hotline for exploited children, 1-800-843-5678. So It's an easy number, 1-800-843-5678. That's the toll-free hotline for exploited children. And we want to always say that. And, we haven't been on in a couple of days because I've been having some dental work, but Black Marriage and Family will be back. And we got some real interesting topics. We've seen this guy. We want to really talk and challenge some of this PowerPoint he put together. So be looking out for that Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. And again, we'll see you all back here in the place on the Fatherhood Think Tank, 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights. Fathers, repeat after me. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a
man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am
a man of courage.
I am.
I am.
I am. Yeah, you gotta do that.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
You are.
Fathers, I say that we are.
We are.
We are.
Championship But we lift our arms, carry our kids on our arms, and our families on our back. As always, we want to thank you for joining us for the 60 to 90 minutes of Fatherhood Talking, Fatherhood Think Tank, fathers talking about fathers, for fathers, about fathers, all centered around for looking for better fatherhood within our community and our universe. I'm looking for better father in our universe. With that being said, I want to thank you guys again. You definitely join us. See us here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank. We will be here. The team will be here. We'll be back with another interesting topic. I'm sure Rohan or Lightborn will send me something interesting that we'll get into. And besides that, I want to thank you guys again so much for being here and being on. And I'll see you all. Let me just give you guys a big round of applause. And we will see you next week here on the Fatherhood.